Welcome to the autosportradio.com 2018 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGillivray Speedway at 30th and High School in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. Tonight's show is presented. Tonight's show is presented by Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Race and IndyCar Series, and SVRA. Couple things to mention. If you have computer troubles like I do, you got to call Jack at Computer Overdrive. He can fix anything. To call him up, tell him what your problem is, make an appointment. His number is 317-328-0766, and they're located at the northeast corner of Lyndhurst and Crawfordsville. I know everybody's favorite doctor's appointment is a dentist. I can help you with that too. The Indy Dental Group, Dr. Jack Miller and Dr. Liz Lewis have got a fabulous practice. Give them a call for an appointment, 317-846-6125. And don't forget, Mondays and Saturdays here at McGillivrays, they have live entertainment. Tim Newman is here on Monday nights, and it varies from time to time who's here on the weekends, but check it out. A couple other things to mention. Janice Mayfield had a birthday yesterday. She's not here, but her lovely other half is here, Andy. So she turned 21 or maybe 22. Want to pass our condolences to Nancy Gass, who lost her mother yesterday. She hasn't been doing too well, and she passed away yesterday. Don't forget, Good Morning America is tomorrow at the Speedway. If you want to be a part of it, be there at 6 a.m. I'll see you at the gate. Want to mention that Dave Brown, everybody here knows Dave Brown, the man who put together the safety team originally. He had open heart surgery yesterday. He's had a problem. He's been in the I'm sorry. Hey, Bill? Bill, am I too loud? Want me to talk a little quieter? I can do that. He has been in the hospital for a couple of weeks with a heart problem. He had a valve replaced yesterday, and I understand he's doing quite well. And this weekend is the first of the Grant King Shop's guest thing. They're having guest speakers come in this Sunday from 2:30 to 5:30. It will be Robin Miller, and on Monday is Merle Bettenhausen. You want to hear some stories? That's the guy, Merle Bettenhausen. If you know where the Grant King Shop is, just go down there. It's $25, and it'll have some goodies, and the proceeds from there will go to the Wounded Warriors. Next week, I have Jim Swintel, who is a member of the Race Control, and he is also an accomplished artist. And we're going to be talking about the Speedway Art Gallery, which I didn't know until last week even existed. He's got some fantastic paintings. He'll be here, as well as Desiree Janes, who had surgery yesterday, but she'll be here next week. We're talking about that, and I've got a couple drivers we're working on, so come on in next week. We're going to have a good time, good show. Now, my first guest. I failed to figure out how in the world she does everything she does. She's a mother of two. She's married. She's got a business that is doing well, and it takes a lot of work to keep it going and build it, which they're doing. And she is also the pace car driver. I saw this young lady early on in her career when she was driving midgets, and I'd never seen anybody drive so smooth. And I asked her one day, how was that? She said, my dad told me, you don't go anywhere going sideways, you go straight. I was at Winchester Speedway when she set the speed record there. I was at the press announcement when she was given a test. Mac McClellan and Dale Pelfrey put together and gave her a test for IndyCars, and of course everybody knows what happened from there. The first pole winner, the first podium, more 500s than any other female has driven, and she's the only veteran 500 driver who's given birth. So please welcome. I just picked that up last Thursday. Please welcome Sarah Fisher. I had to steal that one. I thought that was funny.
Well, you know, you learn something from Donald Davidson every time you talk to him, and so there you go.
Now, as I said when I asked you, and your dad at one time, your success with driving, because I'd watch you. I went to a number of races, and you were smooth. I mean, a lot of these guys come on a midget, and they're bobbling around, and you said, my dad told me the best way to get from here to there is straight, not this way. Obviously, he was right.
I think, I just picked that up from the wing sprint cars. So I'd spent, and a lot of people don't know, I spent most of my time in the dirt wing sprint cars. I only spent 1 year in USAC midgets on pavement before I got to IndyCar racing. So, I was a dirt racer. That burly Saturday night. So, wing sprint cars, you got to drive them in straight. It's not a whole lot of slip angle like the chili pole. So, quite different.
I think you said one of your most exciting moments, you were out in Las Vegas making an appearance, and some guy come chasing you. I know you. It was Steve Kinzer.
Yeah. So he's still the one guy that I just stutter and get starstruck around. I don't know. But I grew up in that world. I grew up in the outlaw sprint cars. My uncle Charlie still builds motors. He just finished a 360 motor for us for the night before the 500 for Kyle to run. I just love that world. What can I say?
How did the test come up? I know Mac McClellan got together with Dale Pelfrey, and they had an announcement, and I was there. That you got your test. How did that come about?
Oh my God, you're testing my memory. I don't have my right-hand man, Andy, here to remind me. I was one day enrolled as a mechanical engineering student at Ohio State University. And
how long did that career last?
1 day.
Yes.
Yeah. I got a tour of the stacks from my dad, and then that was it. And I was just one of the really lucky kids that got an opportunity because I received a phone call, and that was that. Because I had been doing well in the midgets on pavement, and really the midgets on pavement came from Mead Carbonless Paper, who was my sponsor for so long in the dirt sprint cars. They wanted us to do some pavement racing, so we said, okay, well, we went and looked at all the different pavement cars, and those seemed to be the most competitive group at the time, because there was 50 or 60 of them trying to compete for night before the 500s and things like that. So that was the decision that my dad and I made together, and here we are.
You told me that your mom was a teacher and she's now retired, and your dad is doing something with motorcycle or something, but they're now live in Georgia.
They are. They unfortunately went through, they had their house burned down a couple years ago in Ohio. So they rebuilt the house that I grew up in, and that was really hard to watch them have to go through that. My dad lost all of his starting lineup shirts for the 500 that he'd collected of mine that I'd started in. So that was the one thing that he was really sad about, because the front of the house burnt down, not the back. So, all the other photos and things they were still able to keep. So that was cool. But, it just wasn't home. And my dad has always really enjoyed riding motorcycles after I quit him and went on to race Indy cars. So, down there in Dills Gap, Mountain, Bristol area, they're close to that, and they're living on a lake and just enjoying retired life.
What was it like when you got your first try at the Speedway and went out to qualify? What was that like when you walk out there and this is your first effort? What was it? What did it feel like?
Well, I was 19, so that was like my first job out of high school, but I'd been racing for so long and racing against some really big names as it was. So the biggest part of that challenge was being at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and man, those straightaways are so long. It was just almost overwhelming because, here's this young little girl who's attempting to qualify against some really big names. I think Al Jr. was in the field. I think Michael was even still racing. I feel older than what I am, but so there was a lot of pressure. And for me, I tried to tune that out outside of the race car. And when I got in the car, it was pretty easy because that's my office. So it was pretty neat. I'll never forget those 9 opportunities to be there. And each time was always raises the hair on your arms, for sure.
When you first came in, did you get any static from the guys? Oh, yeah, here's a girl. We got to race a girl. Anybody give you any of that?
Oh, hell no. I raced against Steve Kinzer. They wanted to go do that. So I had a great reception from my peers. I have a lot of great stories, and a lot of them were very helpful. And to be a rookie with Juan Montoya was kind of not fair. He wasn't a rookie in my mind. He was wide open the third time by. But, even in talking to him at the time about the challenges of Indy and how to run there, I mean, it was great. I had a really great reception from my peers.
The thing that I think is as impressive as anything, I mean, your pole and your podium finishes and the number of times you've run, is the fact against some of the guys you just mentioned, you were the most popular driver. And there were some big names, and you won. I thought, to me, that always dazzled me. I thought, wow, that's really good. The fans have been behind you since you started, and they still are.
Well, I'm very lucky for that. I try to be realistic in what I do, and I try to be authentic in who I am. My mom's a teacher, so she really didn't care if I was winning races or what. She just wanted me to be happy and to always smile. And if I was having a bad day and being moaning, I'd get a little bit of slap on the attitude there department. So I'm very fortunate that I had great parents who were responsible for keeping me in line for so many years.
Well, your dad's an engineer, and I didn't realize until just recently your mother ran karts at one time as a young lady.
That's how they met.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot that.
Mom and Dad met racing go-karts because my mom beat my dad. And then we moved to the town that she beat him in so that he'd always remember that.
Your brother-in-law, Andy's brother, Kyle, is racing, and you bought a Silver Crown car, you've got a midget, of course, and you're building a sprint car. Does he get to race a lot?
I wish he had the opportunity to race more, to be honest, and that's a lot of our fault because he helps us so much with SIK, and it's in the family. It's a family business, and without him we wouldn't be where we are. So I've made some introductions to the ARCA world for him, and hopefully we can move him through some different channels there even. We're looking forward to the night before the 500. I've never done that as a driver or as a car owner, and I'm not building it. Brad Larson is, so it'll be a nice car. Maybe someday I'll do that, but right now we'll just be focusing on Kyle.
Now, the Speedway Indoor Karting Center, when I had Andy here and we talked about it a bit, and as I told you, I got emails and texts saying, we didn't know they had it there. Hello? Yes, we got to be there when we come in May. Well, that's a good idea, and I hope it turns out. But I was surprised at the number of people that I thought primarily racing people. Listen, it's not necessarily true. They're fans, and they would like to go there, and they didn't know it was there. I don't know how that could be, but so now they know. Is the business what you thought it would be? Is it better than you thought? Is it more work than you thought?
Well, it's a lot different than an IndyCar team. And the idea that it's a revenue stream, that's nice. Because an IndyCar team certainly isn't. It has its unique challenges. The restaurant side certainly has a different set of unique challenges. But overall, it's certainly really enjoying. I mean, we had Mark Borchetta in there yesterday talking about a big machine promotion to bring a couple drivers in, and he's like, "Oh, I got to race a kart against you. This is so cool." And awareness is certainly a problem that you have to solve as even a 2-year-old business, because it's only been there for 2 years. So we have a great director of engagement, Marissa Johnson, who's continually looking for ways to take it to market, to bring it to people who don't know that we're there. So we just got to constantly work at it, just like anything else.
Thursday they had in Speedway the Behind the Wheel promotion by the Chamber of Commerce and Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the last stop was at the karting center. And we went upstairs, and there wasn't many people there. And somebody made the comment, well, they were at the Dallara building. They're not going to come here and eat or anything. Holy Toledo, all of a sudden it's like it started raining. Here they come in, piling in the door. And I think that line lasted at least 30 minutes, if not longer. And everybody who was there was impressed with your conference room and the whole setup. It's really, really well done.
Well, thank you very much. I have a lot to owe to my husband. Andy has a lot of creative. It certainly isn't all me. I have a wonderful staff and wonderful people that are behind everything that we do together. And so, I have an initial thought process, but if it weren't for those creative people, we wouldn't be able to have that great food and a great conference room and all those wonderful things. So I'm very thankful.
Are you going to be able to function with the crew going across up to the north side to work on the car for Dennis Reinbold?
I'll tell you what, I'm pretty freaking jealous. And all kidding aside, I think it's wonderful that Andy's assembled everybody from, I think, around the 2014 era of SFHR to go and run J.R. Hildebrand's program. And I think a lot of JR, and I think they're going to do great things. I obviously have a tremendous amount of respect for Dennis Reinbold. Without him, I wouldn't be here. And, it's kind of funny because in our family, I've been helping the Harding Racing group over there try and, figure out some of the sponsorship side and connect them to some partnerships that we've had in the past. And so, at night, pizza gets really interesting. But, I'll be in the pace car on race day at the 500. So, best of luck. Roll the dice.
Do you miss driving?
Some days, yes, because, when the kids are giving you a lot of grief going to bed or waking up, you're like, man, I just wish I could get back in the car. But, I have such wonderful kids and such a wonderful family that if I was driving, I wouldn't be able to have that. And to me, that's more important.
You were showing me at the Taste of Speedway the week before Thursday, and you said, look at this, and you showed me a picture on your phone of Andy when he was here a couple weeks ago, and you said, believe it or not, the kids were watching it and they wanted to talk to him and couldn't figure out why he wouldn't talk back to us.
I know. Danny, our son, who's 3, he's sitting there waving at the TV like, Dad, say hi. And I'm like, oh, no, he doesn't understand fully yet. And Zoe was just enamored with, everything Andy was saying on TV. So thank you for the opportunity to come on your show because now I'm cool again to my kids. Last year you were a full-time pace car driver. This year you're only doing about half of the thing. I think you told her you're doing 8 or 9 races. How has that worked out? When I've been around and I watched, I don't work on cars. I never worked on cars. I cleaned them, pushed them. But people come up to you constantly and badger you, want your autograph and want to talk to you. Are you happy to be involved as a pace car driver for the series? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love IndyCar racing. I love open wheel, and I was honored that Jay Fry asked me to do the pace car, and 2 years in a row I did it full time. But my daughter's 6 years old, and she's in gymnastics a couple times a week, and she's got a go-kart from Top Kart sitting at home in the garage she wants to get to Whiteland with. So there's a lot that's on our plate, not to mention the SIK at the Midway at IMS, that project that's happening. So new fleets and new tracks at our facility. It's just an endless number of things that we want to do as a family. So when I asked IndyCar if they would be open to just doing a handful instead, I was just very happy that they agreed to do that.
Andy mentioned that at the end of this year, I think you're going to change the track. Now, I remember when you were here before the track was started or opened, you had said that they had laid out, he and some people had laid out a track, and you had a couple of wines and made a change.
Women always spend more money, right?
Well, that's all right.
Make it 2 levels, sink the oval.
How are you going to change it this time? Are you going to put a 3rd level in, or are you going to lower the back level? What are you going to do?
No 3rd level. We're just going to change the layout a little bit on the road course so that it's a little different. Everybody likes variety, and we don't ever want the building to be stale, which is why, we're introducing a new fleet, hopefully June, July timeframe, just sort of depends on production, with the first CRG Hercules model to market in the United States. So we just don't want to be stale. We want to keep doing things to the facility to keep our customers happy and keep people coming in the door.
Yeah, they come in and say, wait a minute, that wasn't like it used to be. Let's go for a ride. Let's try it out. I'm really impressed with what you and Andy and have put together, and we do visit your restaurant from time to time. And the first chef you had impressed me because we'd come in and we'd order something. And they say, "Do you want it hot?" And I said, "No, I want it wimpy." And they'd write wimpy on it. And within about 5 minutes, he'd come out. I said, "How did you know we were here?" Because I saw you wanted wimpy. I knew who it was. The food is good. The service is good. The people you have there is good. But that's completely different than the karting business. That's got to be something 180 in another direction. I owned one once that I know. I'm in a restaurant. It's tough. But you're doing a nice job. The staff is great. They always treat us well.
Well, we're thankful to have, Mike McFarland came in. This is his first year anniversary. Came in April with us last year, and he's turned the place around completely. We redid the menu, so we have, some really nice new items on there, and we separated our lunch menu and our dinner menu to be more efficient at lunchtime so people can get in and out. Just tried to make the experience more pleasant overall. And certainly, the restaurant, it's a whole different perspective compared to go-karting. But, it was designed so that people who were there trying to have a ride in a go-kart would have somewhere to go to have a glass of wine. I mean, I don't always want to be in a go-kart driving, and it's fun to watch my friends, driving go-karts. So it's just a facility in itself, and I think we're getting there. We still have a lot of work to do, though.
It was announced that you're going to have a karting thing going on at the Speedway. Who started that? Whose idea was that? And what karts are you using?
That was all Doug Bowles and his staff. Doug is a great promoter, and to have IMS as a partner of ours is just tremendous. The request came in to build a go-kart track in the middle of the Midway, which is just the newly paved lot to the north of the plaza, the White Plaza area. And they came to us and said, "We'd really like to do this. We'd really like you all to do it." And so, of course, we had to do that. But it's great to have them as a partner, and it's a great idea. It's not going to be free because, honestly, to buy a bunch of barriers and ship them over in carts and to staff it for the whole month of May is a little bit of overtaking for us. So it's $5 for a ride, but I think it's going to be a great experience. You can have a nice little picture with a cart there with the pagoda in the background and say, "I drove at IMS."
What's next for you? You've got the karting center. Like you said, you don't want to get bored. What else you got in mind? You want to get back, own a team again? Team ownership is so hard. I see so many people and especially trying to help the Harding racing folks and seeing Gabby. It's such a competitive environment. But I love the Indy 500. I wouldn't do it by myself. Certainly if Wink Hartman is still interested in the future, maybe it'd be something like that. And Andy talks to him on a weekly basis, so you never know. But there's lots of entertainment options that we've looked at to bring more entertainment things to Speedway, so maybe it's that. We always have all kinds of dreams, and I think that's what's great about my relationship with Andy. We're big dreamers and we're entrepreneurs, and we love building things. How did you two meet?
Well, I ran him over.
Well, that took care of that.
Hey, honey, come on over here. Bam. No, we were at Dreyer and Reinbold. So, again, if it wasn't for Dennis, I wouldn't have my husband and my beautiful family. Thank you, Dennis. No, he was on the car, and his dad was the team manager, John O'Gara. And, we may have gotten in trouble a little bit for dating while we were at work. But that's okay. It worked out all right.
Yeah, I was surprised when Andy was here. Johnny O was sitting. I didn't know he was here. I'd have said something. And we went in. In fact, the next day after Andy was here, we went in the next day, and he came by and he said, "I know you said you'd stop by, but I didn't think it would be the next day." And Jean was there, and I hadn't seen her in quite a while. And his parents, I know your parents, and I know them, and both of you are lucky to have the parents that you have that supported everything you've done, really behind you 100%. So, and Johnny O's down in Beech Grove serving wine or whatever he serves.
Oh, he serves all kinds of things at O'Gara's Irish Pub. And they do an awesome job in Beech Grove because he doesn't serve food. He's just a pub, so he doesn't have the restaurant side, and he does a really good business. So Jean, Andy's mom, runs our books and helps the family, and she's just an amazing woman herself. And it's a huge family, the O'Garas, and I'm just really lucky to be a part of it.
Well, I haven't asked Andy this, but everything is Sarah Fisher. And somebody said, well, Sarah owns a karting. I didn't know that. No, Sarah and Andy. Who's Andy? She's married to Andy. Andy O'Gara. Well, she's Sarah Fisher. Yes, but she's married to Andy O'Gara. They couldn't get that through their head.
There's some people that are catching on to Sarah O'Gara, and it rhymes. So, that's all great. But there's another Sarah O'Gara in the family as well. I'm not the only one. It's just a great family, and I love being in it.
Now, one of the things that happens down there is you have charity events, and you have one on the 8th, I think it is, for the USAC Benevolent Fund. They're going to have a charity run down there. How often do you get approached to have charity events at your facility?
How many times a day? We're quite fortunate that we're in a position that we can help a lot of organizations, and it's fun to do some of them. It's emotionally taxing to do some of them because you get to know the families that benefit from some of the funding that's raised, but then you get to know them after you've helped them, and this little girl who's named the same as my daughter, Zoe. She fought bone cancer. And she's doing great, but she's had several hip and femur replacements, and she's just a tough little girl. She's 6, and we helped her out a couple years ago when we first opened, and we met them at the pumpkin patch, with our kids, just a family here in Indianapolis that we got to know really well. So it's great to be able to do things in the community for organizations, for individual families that we get to meet through SIK, and it's just nice to be in a position to do that.
Well, my hat is off to you, and of course I'm not wearing one. I think what you and Andy are doing is excellent. Obviously, the two of you don't do it by yourself. You have a lot of help, and the people I've run into and met and just want to talk to, just to talk to them and see what their attitude is. You've got a good group working with you, which helps make your place function well. And I know that you have many other things to do, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here. And don't forget, when you see the pace car, that's the driver.
On the good days. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Sarah Fisher. My next guest is on his way up, I hope. Want to remind you, tonight's show is also presented by Sam Pierce Chevrolet in Daleville. You got to come to the country to see why the best prices are, in fact, in the country in Daleville. And while you're there, you'll see why it is that Sam is always rated at the top of customer satisfaction. When he sells you a car, he doesn't stand behind you, he stands alongside you. Just take I-69 north to exit 35, go east 1 mile, and you won't miss him. Sam Pierce Chevrolet. And if you're looking for an exciting event and find out why these people love racing Indy cars, you got to go to the Indy Racing Experience and sign up. Go to IndyRacingExperience.com, pick a date, and in the promo box put SJ1. You get a 50% discount. Or you can call Shonda at the office. Her number is 317-243-7171. Ask for Shonda. Give her the promo SJ1 and book yourself a ride. It is phenomenal. You'll love it. Is it time to get new insurance for your home, your car, or your commercial property? Do what many of us have done. Call Mike Pardee at VP Insurance in Speedway. He's located at 5004 West 16th Street. You can give him a call, talk to him. You'll find out you get better coverage for less money. We have. Try it yourself. His number is 317-248-0070. That's VP Insurance in Speedway, 317-248-0070. And if you're a vintage car buff, you've got to subscribe to the Vintage Racing Quarterly. Just go to svra.com and subscribe. It's a great magazine. And don't forget, in June, the SVRA, and Trans Am will be here. So subscribe to the Vintage Racing Quarterly, svra.com, and sign up. Their next event will be the Spring Vintage Festival, May 17th to the 20th, at Road America in Elkhart Lake. If you're anywhere in the area, you've got to go. It's a great event, great time. You'll see a lot of nifty people. My next guest is a gentleman that I've been prying for. Oh, by the way, I want to mention, if you haven't seen the Unser exhibit, you've got to go see it at the museum, the amazing Unsers at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. If you're coming to town, be sure and check it out. It's a great thing, and if you want more information, there's brochures up here. Help yourself. My next guest, I'm sorry I interrupted, is somebody that you may not have seen, or you may on occasion. He is a pit reporter for the IMS Radio Network. He is a general manager of freelance graphics. Strangely enough, he's held the same two jobs for over 7 years, which is amazing. He used to work with the Bob and Tom show, and he was known around town as the track dude.
That's the first time you've got that right in 10 years. You know that?
I was going to say the track dud, but I said no, I don't want to do that.
Trust me, I've been called that more than the track dude.
You listen to him on the broadcast, and if you're a member of the Indy Racing, IndyCar Nation, you hear him up interviewing drivers, talking to fans, taking questions. He's everywhere, and usually, if the promoter is smart, he does driver introductions. There's nothing neater than have somebody introduce a driver and he can't pronounce his name. He's one of the best going. Please welcome my good friend, Mr. Michael Young.
Thank you, Don. Before we get started,
oh boy,
Sarah Fisher. What I will say this about Sarah Fisher: one of the nicest compliments anyone ever made for Sarah Fisher. I was interviewing, talking to, I can't remember what it was, but Dario Franchitti, and I said, outside of the Ganassi Racing Organization, what is the team that scares you the most? And he says, Sarah Fisher, Hartman Racing scares me the most because she's probably one of the most talented and what I think will be most feared team owners up and down pit lane. That's how much respect Dario had for Sarah and what her and Andy and Wink did in IndyCar Racing. It really was something.
Okay.
And I want to know what kind of restaurant you owned. I didn't know this.
Well, no, it was a little dinky town, LaSalle, Peru, Illinois.
Was it like a Big Boy or something,
No,
like
no.
Frisch's or something?
It was a little place about half the size of this.
What'd you serve?
Steaks, chicken.
Was it good?
Yeah, actually. I had a Henny Penny machine, which
Why wouldn't you have a Henny Penny machine?
deep fried chicken in about 60 seconds. It was really good.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
That's very neat. 90% of the listeners and people here have no idea what a Henny Penny machine is, but
It's a pressure cooker.
right.
So you know.
Well, the problem is the kids think they actually had a penny machine where you stick it in and you get a chicken out of it, and then you deep fry it, and they're kind of like Red Lobster and the Lobsters.
There you go. Well,
No, it's completely different.
I see. You graduated from Bowling Green.
Bowling Green State University, Northwest Ohio. Yep.
And you got
Not
a degree.
Kentucky.
You
Yep.
got a degree in
Radio, television, and film.
and film. Now, what part of the film were you looking for? Were you and Storm
I don't think-
Daniels getting together or what?
I don't think I had either radio, television, or film. I was a 4.5-year major, and I flunked. I didn't take it back. I didn't flunk. You needed to get a B in the introduction to broadcasting. The first year in Ohio, you could drink at 18, so I thought, well, I've got a B-plus average going in. I'm just going to go out and have fun. And I copied off a guy who clearly didn't know the material as well as I thought he did, and I got a D, which took my average down to a C+, which made me have to take the course over again. The second time I didn't care. By the third year, the professor said, Mr. Young, we were going to have the day off, and I was going to give everybody the day off, but I would figure you would know the material so well now that you could teach the course for everyone. That was not true, though. I didn't really know that well, but that's a true story.
What got you interested in being in radio? I said you were with Bob and Tom.
Yeah.
And you had a program going where you were called the track.
So the track dude thing was a completely different thing.
Yeah,
so
I
I
know
started in Toledo at WIOT. I was at Bowling Green State University, which is 20 miles south of Toledo. And WIOT's a 50,000-watt flamethrower. You could hear it all over Northwest Ohio. So I would do construction in the summer with my uncle, and I figured if my degree is in radio, TV, and film, I better get one of them dialed in. So radio seemed the easiest because I have a face for radio. So
you and I both.
Right. So my junior or senior year, I think it was my junior year, some of the guys from the station came down. So I started as an intern, but I've always loved music. I was a big Beatles fan. I don't know if people have seen the picture of my flowing locks with Paul McCartney, huge Beatles fan, and I've always loved music. So that's kind of how that happened. Came to Indianapolis to work for WRZX, which was a hard rock station at the time. And one day, Ed Sorensen was actually doing mornings. And he was Ed Sorensen, and he would just sleep at the radio station, do the morning show, work all day, and then do the TV at night. Well, he was burning the candle at both ends, so he said, I can't do it anymore. So the program director said, hey, you like racing, don't you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, how about we send you out to the track every day? We'll call you track dude, and then you do the reports. I'm like, oh, okay. And that's how that goofy name got attached to me, 52 years old, and I'm still a track dude. Yes. I'll be a dude till I'm 95 years old.
Well, I hope you.
I was going to get rid of that moniker at one point. I think it was 2009 or 10, and I'm walking down pit lane after qualifying at the Speedway. That's what I did, the video screens for the track. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. You look like Oriole Survey every now and then when you turn your face. It's kind of odd. Anyhow, so I'm walking down pit lane, and I say to myself, look, everybody's looking at me now. It's like, hey, you look good, my friend. Okay, very good. And I was like, I'm done with track dude. I'm done with the whole thing. And just kind of like, just track dude. I just hear it when I'm walking down. I'm like, man, I'm stuck with this forever. But of all the names to have, it's great that people care enough to holler it, and it's a lot of fun. Really is an honor.
If they remember you, they could call you as I get called. Hey, no, never mind.
Yeah, we're still PG, Don.
Yeah,
Easy.
I know. I got to be a
Easy.
little careful. How did you get associated with IMS Radio Network?
IMS Radio Network, well, I'd been bugging Wally Levitt for about 5 years, and Wally thought, well, it was more Mike King. I was bugging Mike to try to get on because I was doing public address and all these things and having a radio background. I thought, well, that makes sense. And Mike goes, well, you're a pretty good PA announcer, but we're looking for different types of people for the network. And it was an odd thing. They needed somebody. I think it was Kansas one time. And I said, well, I'll help out, and was able to do pits, and they liked what I did, and it kind of took off from there. So it's been truly an honor to be able to work with Mark Janes and Mike King, and being on the public address system with Tom Carnegie. And it's a dream come for a little kid from Northwest Ohio that came down here in 1984 for the first time to watch a 500. It's been quite a ride, and it's been truly an honor. Truly an honor.
What's it like to stand up in front of the IndyCar Nation people? You have a driver come in. When I've gone and watched it, you draw a good crowd, and you have the ability, in my opinion, to ask intelligent questions. A lot of times people ask questions, you go, what the hell was that about?
I play to the crowd. People having fun. I like to have fun with the crowd, so that kind of helps that a lot. I told Father Glenn O'Connor, who is one of the priests for the IndyCar Ministries. He is the priest at the church that I go to, and I don't get nervous much in front of crowds. I really, really don't. And Easter morning, I'm walking in, and it's about 2 minutes before go time. It's ready for Easter morning mass, 7:30 a.m. So I'm there, and the place is packed, and I'm walking in with probably one of the most holy guys that I know. I mean, this guy is, he and God are like all right there, okay? So I walk in, and Father Glenn's like, you're here. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you can start mass now. Go ahead. He goes, no, I need you to do the readings. Whoa, wait, what? No, I can't, I don't know what I'm doing. So I told him I've never been more nervous in my life than trying to say Colossians and crazy things that I don't normally say. That's holy Toledo. And then to let one of those vulgarities blurt out right in the middle of church would have been disastrous with me and the good guy. So that's the most nervous. But back to your question, because I took the roundabout way.
That's all right.
It's just fun. And I've always said our drivers in the IndyCar Series are such dynamic personalities. Far too often, it's so easy to say, how was the car? How did you like the setup? And not ask a fun question, because I think even Will Power, when you ask Will the right questions, he opens up and is an entirely different guy than what you normally see. And I think that's the key, and I think what fans really want to see is, like somebody or hate somebody, when you ask them the right questions, they really open up, and I think really shows the diversity and the dynamics of the drivers in the Verizon IndyCar Series.
Yeah, when I've had Will here a couple of times, you talk about racing, and it's just, how's the car, But when you get off on something he can expound on, he's funny. He's got his brother is a comedian.
Yep.
And Will's got a sense of humor. He's a dry, but he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He can be.
I always find if you ask them something funny initially, they have no idea what's going on. You kind of blindside them. And then you can ask them all the driving stuff, but they give you a better answer because they're like, oh, this isn't going to be a typical, what was it like out there today? How was the car? Things of that nature. You already know that answer. Ask them something completely different. You give somebody an opportunity to say yes or no, you've already asked a mediocre question at best.
My biggest challenge early on when I came here is I invited A.J. Watson.
Wow.
And the word got out. He isn't going to answer you.
Right.
I said, oh, yes, he will. He says yes or no. No, he won't, because you got to ask the question. That's not the answer.
Right.
And it worked out great. They said, boy, how'd you do that? Dumb luck, actually.
Sometimes that's the way it is. But,
yeah, well.
Drivers, it was funny. So did anybody, I'm sure you all watched the Barber race, the Grand Prix down there in Alabama. That was a long day, long day. And I thought, I don't get nervous interviewing anybody really anymore. The rain delay on Sunday was so long and so painful that A.J. Foyt was standing in his paddock. And Owen Snyder's up there, and he goes, man, you need to go talk to A.J. I'm like, dude, he makes me, I'm wet, but I might soak the lower half of me talking to A.J. So I finally got the nerve, and I went up to A.J., and I talked to A.J. enough, but he still is just intimidating as all get out. And I said, A.J., do you mind coming on the radio? He goes, well, I'd like to, but I'm still busy chewing these guys' asses. And he went shooting back and fired off on somebody else. But I was this close, Don. I was that close to getting a question with A.J. I had him. I really did. I thought I had him.
It's funny. 20 years ago, he might have hit you before.
Oh, well, that's what I was afraid of. I was like, had to hit out of them bees. I was like, he's still a little slower than he used to be. So as long as he didn't have a computer or anything to backhand me or, do anything with tossing anything, I was good to go.
What's disturbed me, I was in Long Beach, and the PA is going on, and I'm listening. I said, that's not Michael.
No.
That's not Michael.
They've got a whole different vibe in Long Beach. My favorite, so the guy out there is Bruce Flanders, and Bruce Flanders is as legendary in Indianapolis as as legendary in Long Beach as Tom Carnegie is in Indianapolis, although they're on two completely different levels. First time I was out there, I knew I would have a tough time relating to the public address announcer of Long Beach in a legendary stature when I heard, the fog you saw down the front straightaway was not that of the clouds coming in from the Pacific, but the weed that everybody was smoking last night. And I'm like, my God, this is going out over the public address system. Different vibe in Long Beach, completely different vibe. True story. I was like, wow.
The thing about it is I stopped people. I said, who's that on the PA? And whatever his name was. I said, what do you think? He said, most of them said, he didn't know what he's talking about.
No.
Really? And, the thing I find interesting is, and it's probably true with all sports, a true fan will know in a heartbeat you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So you got to be careful.
True, but, yeah, it's one of those situations, though. California, that Long Beach race is just such a completely different beast than Phoenix. They have good people at Phoenix and Barber Motorsports Park. We do a lot of stuff with them. But, race fans are race fans, and they know their stuff. But I don't think anybody I think that might have actually been weed coming down the front straightaway. It may have been. I really think it may have been.
No, I take it. You
But
didn't
Jim McHale and all that crew, I mean, he's been doing that so long. He's doing something right because that man puts together a great show.
Oh, no question about it. And the people he's got is good.
Amazing.
Everybody's cooperative and helpful, and they don't give you a lot of lip. If you're not where you're supposed to be, they kindly ask you to go where you should be. So
right, exactly.
that part's all right. Now, you've been around for over 7 years now. The competition is, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, is the best it's ever been. And there's almost any weekend, anybody can win. I mean, Dale Coyne can win the 500.
True.
There's, the competition is, I've never seen it as good as it is now.
The interesting thing about this 2018 field is that you can throw, I think just by watching Chip Ganassi racing and them not struggle, Ed Jones had a podium, but Dixon's not been on a podium yet. They're close, but places what I would expect them to be awesome, they're like off a little bit. And Andretti is a completely different organization. They finally got those dampers figured out. And I think Ryan Hunter-Reay is driving better, even though he really had a rough day at Long Beach, is driving with a desire to win the championship more so than I've seen him drive in the last 4 to 5 years. Alexander Rossi, I ask him, and sometimes you ask funny questions, and you go up on stage, and we're doing driver introductions, and I run up, hey, come here. And I don't know why this came into my head. I said to Alexander Rossi, I was like, because he's a tough interview. He's getting a lot better, but he's tough, because you ask him yes or no. I remember last year at Long Beach, I said, did you have any indication? Yes or no question. You had any indication that engine was going to break? No. Okay, that was the end of that interview. I'll just let you move on. But on the stage, I said, from the driver who won the Indianapolis 500 to the driver who won Watkins Glen last year to this inception of Alexander Rossi now, how have you changed as a person and a driver? He said, wow, that's deep. I want it now. I really want it now. And I thought that was, wow, what a great answer, because he's driving, because he wants it. You could just tell he gets it now. To skip forward to the Indianapolis 500, I remember talking to Dario Franchitti. He goes, I didn't get it when I won in 2007. I just didn't get it. And then I got it. Now I want it. I think Alexander's to that point now where he gets it now, and I think he wants it now. Coyne's been amazing. I think Graham Rahal, for what could have been a disaster at Long Beach, he had a good finish, and he's right there in the point standings. Hinch, I don't know how he's fifth with Robert Wickens. You take away, the second to the first turn at St. Petersburg with 2 or 3 laps to go. He's in the hunt. Schmidt-Peterson's in a whole different level. I mean, they wiped the slate clean. They're fantastic. I think Ganassi will obviously be here this month of May. But each team you go up and down, it's the competition. I think that aero kit's it's certainly leveled the playing field. Everybody's trying to figure things out right now. But you take Dixon out of that and Bourdais, you take both those guys out of that pit stop at the end of Long Beach when they came in with when the caution light was on. Bourdais drives through, Dixon stops, he gets a drive-through penalty. That totally threw a top 5 finish out of the window for him. So to answer your question, the aero kits are all the same, so you throw all that data out the window. Everybody's got an equal playing field, but I think it truly shows you the talent level. I think it shows you how great Robert Wickens is, because this kid came in, and he's no rookie. I mean, that kid is bad. He's at the point where I think he looks better than James at times. Those are 2 equal drivers in that camp, but I think they're going to be a powerhouse this month of May. A powerhouse, really do.
I had
hey, hooray, it's the 1st of May.
Well, by golly, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody pointed that out to me over there, and I thought he was kidding, but I guess not.
There's a second half to that jingle that I don't think we could say on it, but anyhow, we'll skip that. Go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt.
What was I saying? Oh, I had Alexander here the first year he came in.
Right.
And to me, he still had a little bit of the Formula One attitude.
What was the coolest thing Alexander Rossi did? I liked the kid instantly.
Yeah, so did I.
When he won the 500, he got out of that car when it ran out of fuel in turn 4, and he took his hands like that and thanked the crowd. I thought that was awesome. I really, really did. He was so dumbfounded that it happened. But it was, I said, this kid's going to be special. It just was an odd circumstance. And to that fact, now people know this, but we do victory podiums every week. I do about 80 to 90% of them. And for the first time since Danica, that's happened with Will Power too. When driver introductions, they would boo Danica and they'd boo Will Power, which I loved, because that means people care. That means they're becoming passionate. They like and dislike drivers, which we haven't had in a long time. Love all those drivers, but I like the fact that people are that passionate. When Rossi got up on the podium and I introduced him as coming home third, he got booed. He was booed on victory podium. I mean, to the point where it was uncomfortable, but I thought, this is great. This really is creating passion for these fans. And people need somebody to love and hate. If you don't have a Foyt Andretti rivalry to root and go for or against, it really adds, I think, to the excitement and thrill of the sport.
Do you remember when this happened both with Dale Earnhardt and with Jeff Gordon? When Dale was winning everything, he booed him.
Yep.
And then once he started struggling, he was a hero again. Same with Jeff Gordon.
I have seen all forms of motorsport. That year at Bristol where he spun Terry Labonte out and he got out of that car, I was pretty inebriated by that time, but vividly remember the boos rained down to the point where you watch that on television, you see him physically react to it. It was that intense. But that's a great thing. The reason why everybody hates Dale Earnhardt is because his drunk fans sit a row in front of you, and he's 4 laps down because he had an engine issue, and they're standing up going like this with the number 3. I'm like, dude, sit down, all right? He's not going to win the race today. And if you're an Earnhardt fan, I'll call you right out. Cut that out. Well, you can't anymore, but yes. Now where do you go, Don? Now what do you do?
I was looking around. I hope Dale Jr. doesn't come to town for anything.
Great story. So Dale Earnhardt interviewed Jeff Gordon, and Jeff was the same way, Rainbow Warriors and all that. So on Bob and Tom, we were interviewing Jeff Gordon one time, and I knew that he and Dale Earnhardt were friends off the track. They were friends at the point where Earnhardt was going to hire him for Dale Earnhardt or RCR. They were going to be together. And I said, what is the craziest thing between you and Earnhardt? Because you guys were friends. What was the craziest thing that ever happened with you on the track with Earnhardt? And he goes, oh, God, I don't remember what year it was, but we're at Daytona. And my car is handling like a dump truck. It's pushing out of 2, so it's loose coming in, then it starts pushing when it's coming out, and I'm taking down the back straightaway, and we're at Daytona, we're racing, and my car's crap. And I remember looking over, and I'm just angry and just fighting the car. I look over, and Earnhardt's passing me, and Earnhardt has his arm out like this and just waves and gives him a thumbs up. He goes, I'll never forget that as long as I live. But can you imagine that, being in a race like that? Earnhardt looks over with that open face helmet, gives you a thumbs up, knowing you're struggling your butt off out there. It's great.
Yeah. The drivers, to me, IndyCar is smart. They let fans into the garage area. The drivers are willing to stop unless they're going somewhere important, and you can talk to them. You can interact with them. I have witnessed on a number of occasions at autograph sessions around the country that a fan will come up for an autograph and the driver will recognize them. Yeah. Well, shoot, they got them hooked now for life. Yep. That's the greatest thing, and I think that's neat. I think that getting the drivers so that people know who they're cheering for, or booing as the case may be. But I think that's great. I think it's important that the fans meet and know who these people are to some degree.
And to add to that, make sure you take advantage of the Grand Prix, because the Mazda Road to Indy will be there as well. The USF 2000 Pro Mazdas and Indy Lights. And you will see the future. You will see the names that will be running in IndyCar someday. Kyle Kaiser, the Indy Lights champion. Spencer Piggott was down there. Joseph Newgarden. They all came from there. So if you go see those races and the names you're hearing, the Victor Franzonis, the things that Oliver Askew, remember that name? That kid's going to be great. Those are the drivers you can see. So when you meet them, I remember when you were 14, I heard we were at an autograph session, brought a hero card of Dixon up when Dixon was like 16 or 17 or something. It was the goofiest picture I've ever seen. But it was hilarious because these people save it. But it's a great opportunity because their paddock is right behind the Tower Terrace, and they will be more than happy to talk to fans. And you'll get an opportunity. You pay attention. You can tell who the good kids are going to be out of that series, and really gives you an opportunity to meet them early, and they're just happy to talk to anybody, which is great.
Well, one of the problems I was telling Sarah now, when IndyCar or the Indy Racing League started, they didn't have the sponsorships and the meetings and the dinners they used to have. So I could get it. One year I had all 33 drivers on a Tuesday before the race. I had all 33 of them here. Now they're out at meetings, they're out at dinners, they're making appearances. The Tuesday before the race, they're all over the country. So to get them is going to be very difficult. So what I like having the Mazda Road to Indy program drivers on, so people can see and listen to them and know who they are.
The kids are likable. They're a lot of fun.
And they're good. And I've got one or two that are possible for next week I'm working on because they'll be here. And it's fun to talk to them and listen to them and the excitement and where they've come from and what they're doing and where they want to go. I think it's great. And I think there's been, as you said, there's been some good drivers come through it. Hinchcliffe came through it.
It's so refreshing to hear a young driver say, what is your goal to win the IndyCar Series championship or to win the Indianapolis 500? Because for a long time it wasn't that way. And it's good to hear kids coming up again and talking with that type of mentality. And that's what the Mazda Road to Indy has done. It's opened that door for these kids to come in and get in those open wheel cars. Tony Thompson, your sandwich is ready. Tony, your sandwich is ready? No, that's not what that said.
That was pretty good.
I didn't read it because I was afraid it was going to be some kind of flirtatious. What did it say?
It says, tell a funny Elio story.
Funny Elio story. God, there's about 1,000. I think it's something off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's something I don't have on the top of my head, I can tell you.
You know, I noticed my hair was thinning a little bit. When I got it cut really short, does it look bad?
No.
Okay.
Looks like you had it cut short.
I was nervous. I was trying to think of a funny Elio story. I can't think of a funny Elio story. Huh? I will tell you this because, no, I better not. It's a self-grandiose type of story, and it'll come off wrong, and I don't want it to come off that way. Well, that'd be a funny Elio story. There's so many. All right, I'll think of just a funny driver story. God, put me on the spot. I can't think of anything. The drivers are so good. I can't think of anything funny off the top of my head. Elio, Kanan, Dario.
You know, the thing that has surprised me is when TK went to AJ.
Right.
You know, four-time winner. He knows it all. All the experience of Tony Kanaan is bringing to the team. He hasn't done diddly squat.
Well, he will.
However, until yesterday.
They'll be good. They'll be fine, and I think they're still finding their way. AJ promised TK he'll fix whatever it is that is wrong in that team. The problem is AJ doesn't understand Portuguese, and TK and Mateus Laced speak Portuguese, and that's where AJ is a little outside looking in. God, I'm trying to think of a funny story. I should be able to have 1,000,000 of them, and I can't.
I saw the interview with Elio yesterday, and he was asked, do you miss this? And they said, absolutely.
Yeah. I will say this. Elio Castroneves. So I got to spend a lot of time with Elio. I spent more time with Elio Castroneves in St. Petersburg than I had spent with him in the however many, 10, 15 years I've been doing this. When they went to qualify, he's in the public address booth with me in St. Petersburg, and his right knee started bouncing to the point where he was almost bouncing his foot off the ground. And I looked at him, I said, you miss it, don't you? He goes, you don't even know. This is it. And he was so disappointed that he wasn't there, but you could tell. Here's a great story. So it's not the funniest story, but it's the most recent, and evidently I've been in the California fog too long. So did anybody see the command for St. Petersburg when Elio gave the command to start engines? So he's there to do the command. So we're standing there, and I do all the countdown, and I'm pumping the crowd up, 1 minute to the command, 1 minute to the command. And Elliot goes, man, we need to do something. It's crazy. And some guy goes, too bad there's not a fence close. I'm like, dude, perfect idea. We had 60 seconds. I looked at Joe Hodge, who is in charge of all that down there. I said, Joe, can we? He goes, go ahead. Elio, let's get on the fence. He ran over there, and we're like 15, 10. He's climbing up 9, 8, and it's 7. Race fans, are you ready? And that's how quick that Elio, and he knocked it out of the park. He took that mic, and he gave the command. That happened in like 15 seconds. That's how quick that happened. It was insanely fun. I mean, I thought it played off well on TV.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
well.
it really, but that happened so fast. But he was like, we got to do something, man. We got to do something. When he got the pole after all of his tax evasion issues, and we were in the scrum when he got the pole for the 500, I've seen him emotional, but that was a really, really, not funny, but an emotional time. There'll be people that say, screw Elio, that's all fake crap that he does, and he just does it for the cameras. He is such I miss that guy more than any of the drivers that have come and gone in the last 20 years, just because it's true. He is so good. There's a funny story. Okay, here's a good Elio story, because it involved me too. So we're at Detroit. We're at Belle Isle last year. And Pagenaud had just knocked Elio off the pole. It's like 5-4 last lap, coming around, and Elio, he had already parked the car because he had the best lap. 3 minutes down, 2 minutes down. Pagenaud on the last lap gets the pole. So Dave first interviews Pagenaud, and I said, I got Elio. Michael's got Elio. And I'm like, so we climb up with the camera guys down here. This is going on the video screens. Camera's down here. I get on the pit wall. Roger's here. Elio, me. Elio, it's a tough go of things. Obviously, you were that close. Still a great starting spot for tomorrow's Grand Prix. He goes, hey, man, we're on TV. And I look, and we're on the video screen. He said, man, you got to look good. He didn't even care. He goes, come on, man. I said, dude, I got a face for radio. He goes, no, it's okay. So he played that whole camera thing out. And it was just like, it was all, to the point where one of the media guys goes, that was fun, because it just was a genuine moment that was just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah, he is a good guy, and he's funny.
Yes.
And you talk to him, and he's a good interview. And
a humble man. You
Yeah.
would think, with all that he has accomplished, and God, it was just, you're not supposed to root for guys, but man, I really wanted him to win the championship last year, just because we kind of knew he was going to be done, and that would have been the great, icing on the cake for his career if he would have won the championship.
well, the thing I think was interesting, he says, I want to win the 500, and I bet Roger will give me a job again.
Oh, yeah, well, that very easily could be. But, it's great for Roger, because who better to throw in that car over there and really, he's got Juan, he's got Elio. So it's a great operation over there. But Roger wanted to get down to 3 cars, and unfortunately, as we age, we become the people that need to be used in other capacities, Don, other capacities.
And strangely enough, he took the Acura out and put it on the pole.
Yep.
So he still can. He knows where the gas pedal is.
If they get it set up this year, Newgarden will be good. I think Will Power's got it. I said 15 years ago he could win the 500. People said I was crazy, but I think Will Power is going to get it sooner or later. But if Elio could get it, or if Danica could get it, and I know everybody's, I think that'd be a hell of a way to finish her career, because she is more nervous about what's about to happen than I think people realize, because it's all coming to an end right now. And what a great testament to her career to finish it here as opposed to Daytona or another NASCAR race. I think she knows. I mean, her mom and dad are here every month of May. They're not down in Charlotte. I think her true passion and love is the Speedway, and it may not have come off that way, but what better way to go out? Number 13 in a green car. Might as well have some peanuts in there as well, just for good measure.
Well, as far as I know, the last I heard, TJ and her mom live here.
Yeah,
TJ's got a business over in Brownsburg.
Yep.
I haven't been there in a while, but I assume it's still there.
Yep, it is.
And a friend of mine used to race against her in go-karts years ago.
Yep.
He said, man, if she didn't do good, he was all over her like a cheap suit. He said, boy, oh
It was
boy.
interesting. I talked to PJ recently, and he showed me an old photograph of Danica when she was karting, and he was going through the other three drivers in this promotional photo. He goes, that's down on the right's Phil Giebler. And I said, really, Phil Giebler? I like Phil. He goes, he was one of the best karters she ever competed against.
Yeah.
People say Phil Giebler was one of the best karters of that era.
Yeah. And he stumbled when he came here. He was here for, 2 years?
Yeah.
And his real talent never came out. Of course, he didn't have a good ride particularly either, so that always helps. It's amazing how that is.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm glad to see Honda picking up the pace this year. I think it's going to be a good engine and manufacturer battle. It's going to be fun to watch that part. And when you really think about it, other than 2 or 3 guys, the 500's open to
Wide
every
up. Eddie
surprise.
Penske. Both Ed Jones is going to be good. Carlos Munoz is going to hop into a car, and I think he's going to be great. He's been so close. Newgarden was so close. But that's what, Yeah, I was around back in this time, and I understand how great the 500 was in the 60s. Couldn't attest for the 50s, but the 70s and the 80s. But all the ones that I remember, the 92 race, the 89 race, were all horrible races, but the ending was fantastic. So we all remember the ending. These last 4 or 5 500s have been great from beginning to end. They have just been, wow, just edge of your seat. You do look like Oriole Serbia. Edge of your seat excitement. And that's the thing that I know ticket sales are really good for this year's 500. What Doug Bowles has done is great. I love the snake pit, even though it has nothing to do with the race. Kids at some point are going to go, man, I'm getting too old to stand out here in this mosh pit. I need to get a ticket. They'll make that because this has become the tradition for them in May, and this is where they'll want to be. It's going to take a little while, but it will happen.
Well, according to Doug and several others I've talked to, it is happening. They are buying tickets and seeing the race. And I was around when the good snake pit was functioning. In fact, I came home.
Well,
I came home
I think
one
some
weekend.
of these people were born because of the snake pit. The ones that have mud still in their hair, that's kind of how that went.
I came home and we had a show. We showed slides. It was back in the slide days.
But back in the day, so I didn't grow up here, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to senior skip day. Oh, the kids love the cars and Sneva and 200 and all. My ass, they were out looking at the snake pit going, did you see what that woman did with those 7 men? I mean, it was, there might have been 1 or 2 that liked the car, but it's that, oh my God, because you walk into that place and whether anything's going on or there's everything going on, it's so awe-inspiring that people will find their own thing to love. Where do I get a seat? Whatever seat you want to get, but I want a good seat. Any seat you get's a good seat because that's where you're going to form your memories, and you'll argue to the day you die that you have the best seat in the house because you will have the most fun sitting wherever it is because you're at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
It's amazing the draw of this place, isn't it?
It is. It really,
is. We've been here 26, 27 years, and whenever I drive by or drive in, I go, ooh,
yep.
I'm here. I love it.
What other facility do you drive by that you live by that you get your phone out and take a picture when you're driving by? Or you stop and look at it in the middle of winter? There's no other place in the world that creates that kind of awe, excitement. It's truly one of it is the greatest sports facility in the world and the greatest one-day sporting event that any of us will ever see because it is that. I was talking to a guy, he's coming in for his very first time, and he's a Kiwi. And he goes, oh, mate, I came to the Brickyard this year, and I cheered up, when they did the anthem. And I'm like, you're a Kiwi. Why do you? He goes, it was just great. I'm like, wait till this year. Wait till you get taps and the flyover and all the troops. You'll be a soppy bucket of tears before we even throw the green flag.
I've said this a couple times in the past. To me, personally, the most exciting opening or race day experience was to shake hands with 105 Medal of Honor winners.
Yeah.
When they had them here, 4 or 5 years ago? Unbelievable. That's neat. It's just, and it's still, to me, is not the same because Jim Neighbors isn't here.
Yeah.
It'll take a while to get over and get somebody to replace him, but he was a one of a kind.
But there will always be another, and there will always be new traditions, and that is the great thing about that place is, Straight No Chaser did a great job, or so-and-so did a great job. Steven Tyler, not so much. But each tradition, you can't wait for the next part of pre-race, and you can't wait for the start of the race, and then you get up 20, 30 laps in after the first round of stops, and then you go do your thing, and then you come back, and then it's halfway, and then it's over. And what's the first thing that 99% of you think? I got to wait another year. And it just got over. I mean, that's the kind of passion and magnitude that place is.
When I first started coming in 1962 or 3 or something, whatever it was, the race would be won by a lap.
Oh yeah,
and people couldn't wait to come back.
What was the 89 race? Was when Little Al and Mo crashed in 3. Raul Boisel was running third at the time, and I can't remember the exact number, but had Little Al and Mo both crashed in turn 3, they would have had to run 5 or 6 laps before they could score Boisel again, because that's how many laps third place was down. That's how far. You check it. I think it's 5, I think, but it may have been 6. That's how many laps. And everybody's like, oh, it's a great finish. Can you imagine timing and scoring? Well, what do? We got to wait a couple. We're on lap 198. What are we going to do? Or 199. So, I mean, that's how far down. But 92, what a miserable race. It was so cold. Cars were crashing. Horrible day. Michael Andretti's destroying the field. And just like that, it turned into one of the closest finish of all time at the place. I mean, you take what you want out of any race, but I'll take these last 5 years because, man, from start to finish, I don't want to stop watching it because it's that exciting and that good.
And my point, when they won by a lap or 3/4 of a lap and they couldn't wait to get back.
Oh, yeah.
Now if they're 2 or 3 seconds behind, well, it wasn't that close.
That was a horrible race.
Oh,
yeah.
It's amazing.
But, in this day and age, the key, I think, to IndyCar racing, and this might not be suitable for oval fans, what I've seen, and I was an IRL guy when they made that announcement and 96 came, I couldn't wait because, man, I was like, I love oval track racing. This is it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. And then things changed, and then, well, we got to get them together. We need the stars. We don't need these hack drivers. And oh, okay, I think they're pretty good. And then they came over, and then we need Penske. We need Ganassi. And then they came over, right? And the more they melded back together, the less people came to the races, which I thought was kind of odd, to the point now where we go to these street circuits or we go to Road America, awesome freaking place, and those are the type of environments that I think are drawing people again because kids find things to do. The ovals, it's just hard to draw. St. Louis does a great job. They do an amazing job at Gateway Motorsports Park. Texas does a great job. Nothing against Iowa or Pocono or Phoenix. It's just not the same. You walk into Long Beach and holy smokes, it's a party. I don't even see a car and it's great. St. Pete, you're on the water. My God, this is awesome. Elkhart Lake, give me a golf cart and I'll see you in 3 days. That's how awesome that place is. But it's a whole different environment. But what I think I put my finger on is that you're camping. You're with family. You're there the entire 3 days. You can take a golf cart or walk around and meet other fans. They don't leave at the end of the day and then come back. They're there, and it's that atmosphere that kids, I think, are starting to find appealing to camp, hang out with their friends, and I think is really bringing people back into the fold of the sport. Not saying that we should do away with ovals, but if you could bring that level of intensity that the 500 brings to all our other tracks, the ovals, it'd be slam dunk. It's just hard for promoters, I think, to get that, and that's why I think Curtis Francois, Gateway Motorsports Park, they bring a party atmosphere to it. They bring that enthusiasm. And if you get a chance, go to Gateway. They're doing bus rides. you'll have a blast. It really is a lot of fun and a great oval to see.
You know, when I think the other ovals that you mentioned, Pocono, and what they need, Doug Bowles.
Well, yeah. But just think about when Doug came in. Yeah, but when Doug came in, he's ruining it. He's breaking tradition. He was just catching up with the times, I really think.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think sometimes we're so quick to say, God darn it, we need it to be this way, and not realize that in 10 years, we're not going to be going anymore because we're going to be watching it on TV, and we got to figure out a way to get young kids back in the seats. And we lost 2 generations of people, and I think we're starting to get those people back again. Thank goodness. And thank goodness the fans have been as staunch of fans of this sport as they had, or the whole thing might have been done. But we're starting to come back, and it's really exciting. I think the future is bright for open wheel racing and IndyCar.
You know, what I find interesting, and I walked around at Long Beach watching a number of people, mostly young, sitting in the stands, a race going on, and they're watching it on their handheld.
Yeah. That's what I thought was great about Verizon. I said, finally, the kids will have all that, and it didn't really make that connection, but it's something about it's here. I've said it every time. I don't know what somebody's got a hard decision to figure out, or a hard way to figure out how to get it all back together. But when kids don't care about cars, and they're not getting their licenses till they're 18, 19, 20 years old, that's a problem when your sport is based around driving. There's no relation there for a young person, so hence the party, fun atmosphere. Oh, Ed, yeah, I like these cars. This is fun.
No, but they don't have automotive shops for the most part now. And
you can't change a battery anymore without taking the back seat out. The hell, where's the battery in the back seat for? I don't get this. I mean, you've got to disassemble a car. I get why it happened, because I get why it happened and why it is what it is, but we just got to figure out how to make it. And I think that party fun part about it is the key.
Well, I'll tell you what, Doug's busy. Put you in charge of the parties. You and Riley.
I'd have to grow my mullet, but I'm thinning out, Don. I don't know what's going on here.
You and Riley take over.
Well, yeah, she does a great job.
Oh,
the whole thing is, I think they're getting it. People are getting it now, and fans have been fantastic, but the racing has been spectacular. Go to Elkhart Lake, go to Gateway. See all the rest of the races. They're all really good, but it truly is. The new car is great. I think the aero kits look fit. The car looks better than it's ever looked. I don't see any reason to complain anymore. It just is really on the right track right now.
How do you like the look of the windscreen? I think that looks sharp.
As long as they go fast, I'm okay. I think it looks fine. I don't care about innovations and things of that nature, because if that's going to get people to watch or make them feel like this is something I can get behind, I'm all for it. Just do it.
What the whole idea is to protect the guy behind the.
All right, so the windscreen's in. How long before they do a heads-up display? Would that be possible?
Why not?
Wouldn't that be cool? You could see everything right there. You could see your whole entire steering wheel on, because the new LCD screens, if you haven't seen the new steering wheels, are really awesome.
Yeah.
Put that on that screen now.
Why not?
Now it's even safer.
Yeah. I think you should take over.
Well, that'd be bad, because
a promotion director.
Then we'd all have free coolers at the track, and we'd fill them for you. And then.
All right, don't forget this Saturday.
Thank you.
The Grant King Shops host their first get-together. The speaker is Robin Miller, and then on Monday they have Merle Bettenhausen. If you've never heard Merle talk, you got to see this.
Yep.
So if you know where the Grant King Shop is, if you don't, look it up, call them up, make a reservation, get there. They're going to have some snacks and goodies, and there'll be no alcohol, be sodas and so forth, and water for those of us who can't handle it anymore. But get down there. It's $25, and a good portion of that money is going to the Wounded Warriors Fund.
Great cause.
And when's your next race chaser? John Noggle is here through Noggle's Goggles. He took the goggles off so he could see. When's your next one? I assume of May.
Yeah.
Who's the guest? Who?
Johnny Rutherford.
Has anybody heard of Johnny Rutherford? Oh, yeah, okay.
I told this story. But one of my favorite moments of the 500 in pre-race, first year I did radio. I told this, I think, 2 times ago when I was here. So I was with my family, and we're all, we sing Back Home Again in Indiana with Jim Neighbors, and it's pretty, so it's emotional. You're a kid from Northwest Ohio, now you're on the IndyCar Radio Network, and you're getting ready to talk to the entire world. And so for the first time, I'm not with my family sitting there. And I'm singing, Back Home Again, and I'm doing the whole thing. And about half, I see what I can, and then I get a tap on the shoulder. And Rutherford comes in over my left shoulder, the gleaming candlelight. And so Johnny and I are singing. Are you kidding me? I had to change my fire suit. Then I got back on the grid. I mean, Johnny's 1 in a million. Great guy. Great guy.
Yes, he is. Super ambassador for the sport, has been for many, many, many years.
Indeed.
And he was another one who got knocked for some of the things that happened to him, but it turned out overall he was as good a driver as there was.
Yep. Indeed.
Without any question. And, somebody said it's time to shut up. My phone just went off. I appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you guys for coming out and seeing Don.
No, they're here to see you and Sarah. They're here to see me.
We're going to break out the Henny Penny machine here soon, everybody, and have a sandwich.
And don't forget, say a couple nice words tonight before you go to sleep for Dave Brown. Hopefully he'll be here in the next couple of weeks. Got his heart fixed. He'll come running in the door the next time you see him. And wish him well. Thanks for being here. Next week I have Desiree Janes. That's Mike Janes' wife, and an artist who is also a member of the race control. Jim Swintel will be here. You'll see some of his art. You'll be dazzled with what he can do. And we're working on a couple of drivers to get him here. And but we'll be here next Tuesday night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for my guests, Sarah Fisher and Michael Young.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody. And by the way, if anybody is interested, I have a pair of tickets for the Speedrome, and they've been putting on great. I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong?